connection, engagement, rigor, success. Hello, and welcome to my podcast, coaching you through all things education. And you can find me right here on Tuesdays at noon. I'm your host, Ann Labangana Clay of ANC Unlimited, and we take the stress out of education. I am a passionate educator who has spent the past 26 years teaching, presenting, coaching, and consulting for students of all ages, parents, other educators, and the public. Each week, we will unpack relevant topics in education together. And when I'm not podcasting, stop by our website, acunlimited.org, for our new blog post in Coaching You EDU, or a free consultation on any teacher, admin, or parent question of your choosing. We also provide 3 levels of interview coaching and custom design workshops made just for you. If something resonates with you during this episode, please leave a comment on LinkedIn, on our company Facebook page, or on Twitter. Check out the story notes for our social media details. And if you have an episode suggestion, please send it to coachingallthingsedu@gmail.com. Now let's dive in. Hello, and welcome to episode 14 of Coaching You Through All Things Education podcast. This is part 1 of our mental health and wellness series. I am so delighted today because we have 2 guests with us. And on top of that, they are brothers and they are twins. Wow, I've said enough already. That is so exciting. But the best part is that they're going to unpack their book, What's in Your Core, an educator's guide to plugging into purpose and perspective. It aims to get us to slow down, reflect on our own why, and then return to it so we can feel fulfilled and have fun in our jobs again. The mental health and wellness of educators could not be more important than right now. And in these trying times, our students need us energized and emotionally healthy more than ever. However, most of us have understandably lost our way and are feeling ineffective and burned out. And it's only November. Greg and Gary bring over 40 years of experience in education. That includes 12 different positions that they're going to share with you in a few minutes. So they can pretty much speak to any job title in education, and they've basically done it all. Welcome, Gary and Greg Goelz.
Thank you, Ann. Thanks so much for having us. This is Gary, and I just want to start by introducing myself to you and your audience. First and foremost, I'm a family man. I'm a father of 3 girls, and all 3 of my kids actually attend the very elementary school where I teach first grade. And so they're all under 10 years old, and so because of that, they still think I'm a pretty cool guy. So, Ann, if you ever meet them, don't tell them otherwise. But seriously, I'm an educator. I've been in education for over 20 years, initially as a kindergarten teacher and then a first grade teacher. And then I was the principal of an elementary school in an urban setting. Then I was a principal here in Muskego, which is a suburb of Milwaukee. And then I was an assistant superintendent in this district. And finally, believe it or not, 5 years ago, I came back to the classroom and I'm teaching first grade again. Okay. So, I think what's interesting about my story, and I hope your listeners think it's interesting as well, is that administrators talk all the time about missing the classroom and wanting to go back, but I actually did it. That's crazy, I know. It's really been a unique path, and for me and my family, it's been the best path I could have possibly imagined. It's led me to be able to write a book with my twin brother over here and be fortunate enough to share the air with you, Ann. So thanks for the opportunity for having us.
Oh, absolutely. Wow. And?
Yeah. And I'm Greg, and I don't know how I follow that, especially with Gary's professional experience. I mean, it's so cool. Whenever I tell people that my twin brother was an assistant superintendent and he's back in the first grade classroom, their jaws drop and they say, how amazing and awesome is that? And then I always say, I know my brother's amazing. Okay, stop, because he's always beating me at everything. So he's that, people just really respect and love what he's doing. And I do too. I'm just joking with him, but like super proud of the stuff he's done. So quickly for me, my path is very different, but it's kind of what makes our experiences really unique.
Sure.
So my path is started outside of the field of education. My first degree was in social work. And so I ran a group home for teenagers coming out of the juvenile justice system, and also worked in inner city child welfare in Milwaukee. And so just bringing that social work core and foundation is something very different than a lot of educators have. From social work, I moved into school counseling and worked at the middle and high school level in school counseling in the Milwaukee Public Schools, and then moved out to the district that I'm currently in, which is the West Allis West Milwaukee School District. And it's in Milwaukee County, and it's just a direct suburb of the city of Milwaukee. And there I was, again, a school counselor at the high school level for many years, then did some work supervising special education at the middle school level. Also was a alternative education high school principal. And currently, I'm still at that same school, but we just finished transitioning and transforming that alternative ed school to be a project-based learning school for all 9th through 12th graders in our school district that just need that different type of learning. So that's kind of, that's where I'm at and what I bring. And I think that's what's really neat about our book, Ann, is that when we combine the experiences that Gary and I both have, we cover just about any person in education that's going to want to read a book and learn something. We're not going to talk about what we've heard people do in certain positions. We're going to share and talk about what we've personally done in those positions. So that's really unique with our story.
Wow. Well, that's another wow. See, Greg, you didn't even think you were going to get a wow, but absolutely deserved. Fascinating, gentlemen. Your background, your expertise that you bring to your everyday experiences, whether it be in the classroom or your workplace. And then, of course, the book, which we're going to unpack in just a moment. Thank you. All right. So our first question is, please provide a brief summary of what's in your core, an educator's guide to plugging into purpose and perspective that you two authored together. And can you share with us where the title evolved from?
Sure, I'll start with that. And our book is super crazy unique. It's really different. So for people listening out there, we give respect to people that come into a book and follow a traditional structure and use a lot of research and data-driven pieces in their books. And that's awesome. That's not the direction Gary and I went in. We went in to write a very light, entertaining, fun book. We want people to just be engaged and have a good time, because we're all really stressed out in education right now. So we said, you know what, let's put something out there that people can just use to reflect and have fun. We put funny pictures of ourselves in there from growing up together, and just a lot of funny personal and professional stories that we think a lot of people can relate to. So basically, though, we want the reader to really feel a certain way. So it's not about teaching a new skill or a new strategy. Our goal is, when we wrote the book, to write it more like a keynote speech rather than a dissertation. So what I mean by that is, right, when you see and hear the best keynote speeches, you leave there going, man, that was awesome. They got me all jacked up and excited about what I do, and I'm going to jump in and try some new things. And that's what we're doing. We don't want people to come in and want to read our book to learn a new skill, because it's not about learning a new skill. It's about actually returning to the skills and the passions that you already have. So that's really what our book's about. Mm-hmm. The the cores, and that's what's important. You asked about that with like especially in the title with the cores. So cores mean something, not only like apple core and apples, kind of signify educators and education. It's a spin-off of that, of course. But the cores stand for something. Cores, C-O-R-E, they stand for calling or reason in education. So the cores are your calling or reason in education. And what Gary and I did is we created 10 cores. 10 cores, callings or reason in education. And what cores are, Ann, is they are kind of made up of our own innate and personal attributes. So we want people to think of these cores as their educational personality type. So that's really important. The cores are like your educational personality type. It's not about narrowly placing people into like the neat box of a certain core, one of the 10 cores. It's just about exposing them to all these different passion types and groups and figuring out where we might lie and how we can, leverage those passions in ourselves and in others. So a couple examples of cores would be an advocate, a changer, character builder, connector, energizer. That's just 5 of them. But what we do in the book is we break down the core, we define it. We share some funny personal stories about growing up that somehow connect to the core. And when you read the book, you'll see what that means. And then we break it down into a couple of subsections that kind of support what the core is and what our argument is. We, of course, include data and research from other professionals that have written books and been published and just people we know. And just try to use that to get people to understand what their core is, what their purpose and what their why is. So that's the purpose part, Ann. So just super quick, I'm just going to talk about the perspective piece because that's the other part of that title of the book. So there's other books out there about finding purpose, but the strength of our book is gaining the perspective to understand the cores of our colleagues and then to fully trust in them. So when we fully trust in our colleagues and their skill sets to achieve school goals, we call that the unifying power of perspective taking. So we think that when we have a grasp on our own cores and our own purposes, our own whys, that's awesome. But then when we really can understand the purposes and the whys of our colleagues, and then we can trust them and work together to achieve school goals, that's when the magic happens. So to sum up, what we say is we want the reader to learn how to know themselves and others so they can maximize themselves and others. So that's the book. Bam.
So, Ann, I just want to jump in there because Greg is not the only one that had an extra cup of coffee this afternoon. So I just want to get in a word edgewise. He did an awesome job.
It was iced tea, by the way.
Whatever it was. Maybe go to decaf.
It had caffeine in it. Go ahead.
So just one other thing I wanted to add. Greg did a great job summarizing, especially about that purpose and perspective part. The one thing I just wanted to say to add is the application piece. The application piece is huge in the book. We're very intentional about that. A big focus of our book, more than any other book that I've ever read in education, are the strategic steps we take to have the reader apply the learning tomorrow for kids. And so we have sections literally called Apply It. And we spell apply with an EY at the end, which brings in that apple core theme that Greg was talking about earlier. Pretty clever.
Clever.
I can tell you love it. I can tell you.
It's very clever.
So, literally, those apply it sections literally give the reader ideas for ways to apply what they're learning. There are 3 or 4 of those in every single chapter. And there's also reflective questions at the end of each chapter. These questions are great for the reader to answer alone or as part of a book study. And third and finally, Ann, we have what we call We Dare You. We Dare You, Ann. Calls for action, for change. So literally at the end of every chapter, as you saw when you read it, we ask the reader to step outside of their comfort zone and take some action. So the book is all about applying what you learn. Because if you don't apply what you learn, if you don't change and improve, well, what's the point of reading this book or any other book? And back to you, Ann.
And you know what, gentlemen, that is the truth. I mean, I love the way you have it set up because, like you said, we have lots of books about we're going to learn something new, but we need to tap back in, right, to our inner core, right, into our why. But not only that, if I can sum up what you said, gentlemen. So you're tapping into your why, you're connecting with others who have that why or similar whys, your 10 cores. And then from there, you're applying it. You're not just getting together and talking about it, but you're doing something about it. And your book actually lays that out beautifully for the reader. It is very light and lighthearted and easy to read, which is perfect and easy to put into application. Thank you for unpacking it. I have another question. What impact do you hope your book will have? You spoke about it a little bit, but just directly answer that one. What impact do you hope your book will have?
Well, since we're having a fun, light conversation with you, we're going to add one piece that we don't always in these podcasts. But 2 nights ago, someone asked us about what the motivation was for the book. And part of that is impact. And our answer was something very strange. And the answer was to expose our older brother, Jeff, for some of the things he did to us when he was younger, or when we were younger. Now, and that sounds crazy, but just let me explain, because your listeners are like, what on earth is he talking about? Our older brother, Jeff, he's an amazing guy. He's responsible, respectful. He's a stand-up dude. But when we were younger, he did some questionable things in trying to build our character. He says he's trying to build our character. And so for 35 years, Ann, we have told him, someday we are going to get back at you. And for 35 years, we haven't figured out how. But in this book, and this is why you guys have to read this book, in the beginning of every chapter, not only do we share some funny picture of Gary and I, like in the same, shirts or something crazy from like when we were like 8 years old, but we share a story about growing up as twins, and it somehow connects to every one of those cores, okay? And within that, we expose Jeff because we tell stories about the things he did to us. And so now all of the, Twitterverse and every podcast world, they're hearing that our brother Jeff, although he's a good dude, we exposed him in our book, and you get to read some of those funny stories of the things he did to us. So don't look him up. He's got a different last name, as far as you know.
Okay.
But anyways.
We're he's good. And to our Google search right now to look it up. Just because you said don't. All right, go ahead.
All good. But hey, seriously, the impact we want to make, I think there was 3, and I'll cover one of them. So we want every reader to somehow kind of align with one of the cores. And remember, it's not about finding one and picking one and you're like solidly in that. It's just about, connecting with one of them. And then that helps us kind of realign our purpose. So that's what you were talking about earlier, Ann, about just going back to who we are. Because we are our greatest resource in schools. Besides kids, of course, we, staff, teachers, we're our best resource. So we need to find what we're all passionate about and what we love and then tap into that. So as educators, we want to do that, but as leaders as well. So you school leaders and district leaders out there, you want to find out what your staff are passionate about and then put them in those positions, not by their job title, but by what they love and what they're really good at. Yeah. So that's one of the things we want people to do is just get back to and align with their purpose and their why.
So, Ann, one of the other pieces that we're really focused on when we wrote the book, specific to impact, is about perspective. We talked a little bit about that. I wish we would have had a perspective of what was going through Jeff's mind when he was doing some of the stuff he was doing to us when we were kids. But really, Right. Specific to education, we really know how important it is to understand our colleagues' perspectives. And so we want your colleagues to really be able to think about and you to be really able to understand where they're coming from when they're thinking a certain way or making certain decisions. So that's kind of that perspective piece. What are your colleagues' cores? Or as Greg likes to call them, educational personality types. I hope every reader learns more about the perspective of their colleagues, no longer wondering, what do they do all day? Or why do they think that way about a certain topic? But rather, this is the important part, rather appreciating and trusting that those differing perspectives result in a better end product for our students. So when you know and you value and you trust your colleagues' cores, that's super powerful.
Oh, wow.
Awesome.
It
Good
is
stuff. And Gary's gonna add one more, because I was going to talk a little bit about the impact we have with with intentionally getting teachers or the reader to act with the pieces of the book and the end of the chapter that have those things. But he kind of already talked about those with the I dare you and the reflection questions, the apply it.
And he's talking a lot anyway. So
so I'll stop talking.
That's a gift right in and of itself, Ann. He stopped talking. I mean, let's just appreciate the silent air for a second. So the last one, real quick, Ann. This one is super short. I hope that reading the book will bring a smile to people's faces. Even in the middle of a pandemic and everything else going on this crazy year, and as you know, teaching can still and must still be, dramatic pause, Ann, dramatic pause, teaching must still be fun. It's got to be fun, Ann, and so should reading a book. So we need more smiles. We need more fun these days. Yeah. And for example, are you? I don't know if you're ready for this, Ann. Are you ready for this?
Yes.
Okay. Everyone in this room right now, raise your hand if you think we need more smiles and more fun in classrooms today. Raise your hand, everybody. Okay. All right. And scream. All right. Way to be there, Ann. So, Ann, let the record show that 100% of the people in this room right now are raising their hand. Never mind, Ann, that Greg is the only other person in the room. But so if you don't like to smile or have fun, then don't pick up the book. But if you do, and everybody likes to smile and have fun, then please order one.
That's right. You jumped to my question. I wasn't quite there yet, but I am going to ask, where can our listeners buy this fantastic book?
So a couple places. We were lucky enough to have a publishing company that was crazy enough to publish a strange and different and odd book. And so Roman and Littlefield is our publishers. So you can go on Roman and Littlefield's website. But of course you can go where all books are sold. Amazon and any other Goodreads and other sites. You can just go in there and, Google search what's in your core, Goelz Brothers, anything like that, that'll pop up. And so you can purchase that and it'll get sent right to your home, ready for you to read and learn and enjoy.
Woohoo! All right. I'm going to double back, though, because I have another question about your book, gentlemen. This has been fantastic. Thank you so far. What are some of the takeaways? And I think you gave us your 10 cores, but what are some of the takeaways from what's in your core that will add the most value for educators?
Great question, Ann. Just like all of your questions have been. We're going to have 3 main takeaways. So let's see. Let's keep these pretty short, Gary. So let's have 3 main takeaways. Go ahead, Gary. You take the first one.
Okay, and takeaway number 3. Here it is. Fully lean into your core, which we talked about, your purpose or your why, and do something better. Read the book, then do something better. That's what the book's all about. If you don't plan to change or do something better as an educator, then don't read the book. But, Ann, you should still buy it, though, because we each have 3 kids we need to put through college. So takeaway number 3 is do something better and buy the book.
And buy the book.
I'm laughing at that because
me too.
We're all. It's so hard to get even words in because we're all laughing and having such a good time, which is awesome.
Yes, I love.
This is what we wanted. And
I love the energy. Go ahead.
Yeah. This is what we were looking forward to. We've had you on the books for quite a while, and we've had this date circled because we're like, Ann's got awesome energy from the stuff she puts out, so we get to join in on that. This is fun.
Awesome.
I'm laughing at Gary talking about putting kids through college. Like, if anyone writes a book, they know you don't write a book to make money because you don't really make money. It's just to get your message out there, and that's what we're doing.
Right.
Hey, second takeaway. We achieve school goals best together. So that's part of our takeaway with our book. Let's get to know, respect, and trust. That's the big one. Trust the skills and passions of our colleagues. We talked about that earlier, about being the unifying power of perspective taking. If we as a staff in schools and as school districts can get in this unifying power of perspective taking mode, that's really, really powerful. We want to trust that the best service that you can provide for kids is the one that you provide together as a unit with your colleagues, and that we're stronger together.
Yes.
So, Ann, takeaway number one, last one. I do want to throw one in there, though, that I don't know what Greg's made so far as profits for the book, but I've made $6.50. So, I mean, we're close to like having one of my kids be able to take one class on one day. So I'm excited about
one day.
We got to sell another 12 million books, and we'll be taken care of. So
exactly. So please buy the book, folks.
Yeah.
We need at least one class.
Okay, and last takeaway. Let's see. Drum roll, please. We got to do a little drum roll. I don't know how this is coming through on the microphone. Cut it. Okay, the last one. Have fun. We talked about it a little bit. Major takeaway of the book. Have fun. Fun is all around us every day, regardless of the role, regardless of your job in education, even in these crazy times and in this crazy nation and world we live in. Have fun with your students, because newsflash, if you're not having fun, your kids know it. And if they know it, then likely they're not going to have any fun anyway. So takeaway number one is something we lead by example with in the book. Have fun.
Love it. Those were 3 great takeaways. And if we haven't had fun here and our listeners don't have fun listening, then something is wrong, right? We'll be right back with more from Gary and Greg Goelz.
Hello world, Brian Aspinall here from Codebreaker Inc. Are you looking for ways to integrate coding, computer science, and computational thinking into your everyday lesson plans? Check out codebreakeredu.com for a plethora of books for teachers about professional development with coding and computational thinking, as well as the perfect read-alouds for those primary classrooms. Head over to www.codebreakeredu.com and be sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at codebreakeredu.
Let's pick up where we left off with Gary and Greg Goelz. You need to buy the book, right? So that you can figure out not only for you to have fun, your colleagues and your students. It's a ripple effect that is so positive. And like you said, during this time, educators really need that lift. They need to know that that they have support, right? They have ideas, they have ways, and everything is not a downer. And excellent, gentlemen. All right. My final question is trending on the show. Drum roll again, gentlemen. If you could have a billboard with anything on it, what legacy message would you print on it and why? And you can have a combined billboard or a separate billboard, your choice.
It's a great question, Annie. Don't tell any other people that we've had podcasts with, but this might be my favorite question of all time. Please don't tell anyone that. And hopefully they won't listen to the podcast.
They'll be listening.
But their questions were also very good. So, Ann, great question. So for my billboard, I'm picturing 3 huge words, no pictures. They're in all capital letters. And the words say, what's your impact? What's your impact? And it reminds me a lot of you. You would nail this question, Ann. Think about it. Here's what we know about you. You're a champion for all students and teachers. You're an instructional coach. You're a consultant. You're a wife, a mom, a host of this podcast. And you have a major impact on so many other things that I don't even know about. So if you're listening, and you're not a superhero like Ann, and you're just like a regular person like Greg or I, consider this when you think about a billboard that says, what's your impact? You don't have to be a superhero like Ann. Just think about how you would answer that question. What's your impact? That's my billboard.
Oh, I actually have a tear because although you were, I do. Thank you. I'm humbled by your words. I really am. I'm happy to make an impact at whatever level I can. All right. And our next
Speak the truth, Ann. That's all I do.
Oh, I know that's right.
I speak the truth.
I know.
That's
right. You speak the
Greg's
truth.
Got a great billboard.
All right, here we go.
I have one too. Mine is one word. So if I had a billboard, I would put this word on there. Listen.
Yes.
I would put on my billboard, listen. Gary talked about like becoming better people, right? Making an impact, helping people. I think our sole job as educators is to help produce amazing human beings. Mm-hmm. So not students, right? But amazing human beings. So I believe that if we as a human race did a better job of just listening to others, and I mean like really listening and like really listening, that we'd all be better off. So we need to like show some empathy towards others, believe in others' realities, believe in their stories and their truths, because man, it's real. It's their truth. Trust in others and fully know that everyone that we're working with students and staff and parents and communities, that everyone is trying to live their best life. They're doing the best they can. So have some empathy, understand where people are coming from and help them, help each other. Like we're all in this together. We just need to help each other out. So the way to do that is to listen. That's where we all start. We got to listen.
Wow. Gentlemen, I tell you, I am blown away by everything that you've spoken about today, because it's in my core, right? The things that you've talked about are things that are within me, my part of my why. And this has just been fantastic. If you have not, folks, my listeners, gone to the bookstore online, and I'll have it in our story notes as well, please make sure you pick up this book today, so that you can first work on you, then collaborate with others. And then, of course, our ultimate goal is that ripple effect will impact our students and our children and the youth in our lives. All right. Well, thank you so much. Oh, my goodness. Absolutely loved having you today. Thank you for bringing the laughter out today in such a natural and fun way. Absolutely loved it. Until next time on Twitter, or maybe as a guest again, have an awesome rest of the day.
Bye.
Thank you, Ann.
Well, that concludes another episode of Coaching You Through All Things Education podcast. As Confucius states, those who develop the ability to continuously acquire new and better forms of knowledge that they can apply to their work and to their lives will be the movers and shakers in our society for the indefinite future. Again, you can find me on LinkedIn or on our company Facebook page, A&C Unlimited. And please take a moment to visit our website at afunlimited.org for that free consultation. Until next time, stay stress-free and be well. Hello, this is Ann Labangana Clay, your podcast host for Coaching You Through All Things Education, as well as the founder of ANC Unlimited. I absolutely love using Anchor as my home. Let me tell you why. First of all, the creation tools allow me to record and edit my podcast right from my phone or my computer. Second of all, Anchor will distribute my podcast for me so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and of course now iHeartRadio. The third reason why Anchor is my home is because there is no cost to me when I create. So I can create as many episodes and bonus episodes as I choose for my listeners. So, my suggestion is that you sign up today at Anchor FM and start your own podcast. I'll see you Tuesday.